Hi everybody and welcome to the 4th of March, a bit of an ad hoc system I've got to make sure I can get the daily program to you. Yes, I spilt some water on my Mac just before Saturday's program, rendering it useless. It remains useless. Heading to the Mac doctor, but I lost, all my animation files. It's been a bit of a struggle to sort of get back to some sort of working order for today, but we'll barrel on. Now, a little bit later on in the program, we will have a little bit of this, and this is footage from the Turtle Festival Parade. We'll do this at the end of the program today, featuring the amazing turtle there, constructed out of, basically stuff strewn on the beach by Steve Ross with the rest of his marching team there. So we'll cover that certainly at the end of today's program. But absolutely no doubt, the big story that has just taken over English-speaking Thai media as well as Thai media, almost vigilante groups appearing at a Yamu beach yesterday. And this is all in Phuket, so sorry about the people in Pattaya and Bangkok, but this story has taken over social media. Well, let's start with what happened yesterday. And from nationthailand.com, hundreds rally on beach against Swiss man who allegedly kicked doctor. And around 300 people rallied at the Yamu beach in Talang district, reported as higher in other media. And this happened yesterday morning against the Swiss owner of an elephant park on the island province after he allegedly kicked a female doctor last month. Well, I think the video that's been shown of that incident doesn't leave much doubt of that matter. And at first, their number was around 100, but it soon trebled in size. This is the crowd. And the rally was held under the slogan labelled by the organisers in English as "Get Out David," David being a nickname of the Swiss gentleman who is named in other articles. And the original incident took place on the evening of February 24 when Tan Dao, this is the female Thai doctor, was also allegedly berated by Fair's Thai wife, who boasted she was well connected to senior police in the province, later to be found out that she wasn't. And Tan Dao later told the media that Fair looked down on her as a local who didn't understand the English sign that stated the steps were private property and trespassing was prohibited. And later we found out that they weren't private property. In fact, the steps were encroaching on public land. And a second sentence there, her story infuriated many Phuket people and other Thais, and many suggested organising the picnic protest on the beach in front of the villa to make it clear that all beaches were public spaces and no one could own them as public property. And that's true, all the beaches in Phuket are public property. And Fair, this is the Swiss gentleman, initially explained that he had not intended to kick the doctor, but he slipped while walking down to tell her to leave, and his foot accidentally touched her back. But a video clip released from Tan Dao's side showed Fair hurling 4-letter words at her as "get the F-U-C-K out." One protester sang the national anthem, and one of them shouted, "David, get out, we hate you." And the steps have also become a hot check-in spot on the beach, with many people coming to sit or even lie down on them to take selfies in a show of solidarity with the doctor and to defy the Swiss man. And we'll get to some of those check-ins in just a moment, but just some of the people that have become embroiled in this fracas. From Calcot English, and this is their Facebook page, among the protesters on Sunday calling for the deportation of a Swiss man who attacked a Thai woman because she was sitting at the steps of his beachfront villa was Miss Grand Phuket Beauty Queen. But here we go, some of the people who went down for a bit of an Instagram pic, making sure they got a photo of themselves sitting on the steps, and there are literally hundreds of photos on social media of people sitting at this new Instagram post favourite. Going to some other angles on this story, and BangkokPost.com saying locals to rally against Swiss man. This, of course, was reported before yesterday's protest, but a few interesting items at the end of this article. The villa steps where the incident took place were not even on the couple's property, but found to be encroaching on public beach land. And the Pak Lok municipality on Thursday filed a complaint against Phuket Peninsula Estate Company, which looks after the villa project. And the Pak Lok mayor said further inspection revealed that 2 more constructions wooden stairs and a lounging ground also encroached on the beach. But this single incident seems to have flared up into a much wider story, as reported in Thai PBS World.com. Rally on Phuket to reclaim public beaches from developers. Yes, there are some developments and some hotels that try and claim the beaches in front of them as their own, but they're not, they're public land. And this story from the Bangkok Post: Phuket beach rail spurs graft probes. And more than 500 locals, reported 300 in an earlier story, and activists gathered on Yamu Beach in Talang district yesterday to condemn a Swiss man who allegedly kicked a doctor. They also demanded his expulsion from Phuket and restoration of public access to the beach where the alleged assault happened. And the National Police Chief's been dragged into this. He said yesterday he'd ordered the Provincial Police Region 8 and Phuket Provincial Tourism Police to investigate the case. He said the units were told to gather facts surrounding the alleged assault and ensure the investigation against the Swiss man is swift. Even the Prime Minister's been dragged into it. He's instructed the Royal Thai Police and the Ministry of Tourism and Sport to step up measures to ensure foreigners comply with the laws. And down the bottom there, a police source said the Swiss man was initially charged with assault but denied the charge. Authorities say an initial probe has found no cause to revoke his visa. So coverage of this story has got, well, I would say a little bit overblown, certainly a bit out of control, and some of the comments on social media have been very vigilante-like. But, well, the Swiss man does have priors. As reported by the PhuketNews.com, Swiss expat fair in ambulance obstruction case. And the Swiss expat, Urs Fair, founder of the Green Elephant Sanctuary Park, has found himself embroiled in another scandal for rude, threatening behaviour, this time for obstructing an ambulance. And further down there, he gave the driver the middle finger, lowered his window and said, "F you." And the incident, dating back to late last year, was recounted on a local social media channel yesterday, with Fair being charged with assault for kicking a woman doctor in the back. The incident has gained widespread attention through Thai language social media posts. And according to the Post, Fair has threatened to press charges under the Computer Crimes Act for details of the incident being posted online. And the incident was reported as Fair had obstructed an ambulance, but more importantly because the act of making the shape of a gun and threatening a person was considered a genuine threat. And following the resurfacing of the ambulance incident in the media fallout of Fair's role in the doctor kicking, posts online claim that the incident has been resolved with compensation, which the ambulance driver yesterday strongly denied. So the question here is, does the doctor kicking incident deserve so much blanket coverage in most of the English Time media? 2, 3, 4 stories over the weekend on this one incident. Now, here's another incident that happened, say, on Friday. And reported in CalSouthEnglish.com, a British man apologises and pays compensation to a Thai woman. The Thai woman accepted an apology with compensation from a British man who smashed a glass next to her because a dog next to her was barking. And the 37-year-old Thai woman suffered a cut on her arm after a foreigner who sat behind her smashed a glass at a cafe in Jomtien Beach because this man was irritated by a dog's barking. This happened on Friday, March the 1st. Even though she informed him it wasn't her dog, the man refused to accompany her to the hospital or pay for her injuries and said, "I don't care," before he fled with 3 friends. So this woman ended up cut and taken to hospital, but I've read no other Thai media about that particular story. So I'm wondering if the actions of the Swiss gentleman, although appalling, his wife wasn't really much better, have deserved such blanket coverage and thousands upon thousands of almost vigilante-like commentary from, well, mostly Thai people, plenty of foreigners getting involved in the action as well, decrying the Swiss gentleman. Yes, his actions were appalling. Does he deserve to be pilloried to such an extent in the media? Well, that's a question I pose to you. Be interested to hear your comments on today's TNT. March the 4th. And thank you very much for joining us on the program. Big thanks to our sponsor, 5 Star Marine at 5starmarinephuket.com. Take a trip on a beautiful day like today. It would be well worth it. Out to the islands of Punga Bay. Go to 5starmarinephuket.com and book a trip. I'm sure you'll be very happy. Highly recommended. Now, plenty of other things happening in Thailand besides that story and its blanket coverage. Let's go to this one. ThaiPBSWorld.com says forest fires in Chiang Mai made the city the world's 8th most polluted on Saturday. And the air quality in Chiang Mai province was measured at 153 on the AQI listing on Saturday, being ranked as having the world's 8th worst air quality as forest fires rage and 150 hotspots were detected. And Chiang Mai in some good company here. The most polluted city on Saturday was Calcutta. And we've got Dhaka in Bangladesh, Lahore in Pakistan, Kathmandu in Nepal, Yangon in Myanmar, Bishkek in Kyrgyzstan, Krakow in Poland, and yes, you got Chiang Mai in 8th place as well. And the worst forest fires were reported in Mae Cham, where they've been raging uncontrollably across vast tracts of the mountainous area throughout the night and into the day. Villagers have blamed the fires on a mistake by officials responsible for forest fuel management when they burned the fuel without building fire breaks as a precautionary measure first, allowing the fires to spread rapidly. And more firefighters have been mobilised to help control the forest fires. Now, an update on that, the fires are still burning, although officials say they are currently under control. To another story, and from BangkokPost.com, story we've been following quite closely here on TNT. And this story says the government facilitates transfer of 900 scam victims from Myanmar to China. Now, these scam victims are people who are basically trafficked into these online scam centres, many of them surrounding the Thai border in Myanmar, Laos and in Cambodia. Not in Thailand, but just over the border. And a lot of them scamming Chinese citizens. And Thailand has, in the last week, helped facilitate the transfer of some 900 Chinese nationals who had been trapped in scam centres in a Myanmar border town back to China. This according to the Thai PM. And Southeast Asia, including Myanmar, has become a hub for telecom and other online fraud, according to the United Nations, with hundreds of thousands of people trafficked by criminal gangs and forced to work in scam centres and other illegal operations. And the operation, which Thai police say started last Thursday and was completed on Saturday, involved transporting the Chinese nationals from Myanmar's border town of Myawaddy to an airport in the Thai border district of Mae Sot, where they were transferred to Chinese planes. So they're the victims who were forced to work in the scam centres, in many cases scamming their own countrymen. But it's been affecting people around the world in a profound way. The billions and billions of dollars that have been scammed already is just astounding. So it's good to see at least Thailand and China getting involved in trying to crack down and maybe free some of these people who have been trapped in these centres. Now to some better news. We go back to Friday night and to, well, local activity here on Turtle Beach, better known as Tai Muang Beach. And it all started out the front of Steve's house, and he's put together a float for the Turtle Beach Parade, apparently the first foreigners to march in a Turtle Beach Parade. And the turtle looked fantastic, made out of discarded cigarette lighters. And so they left Steve's house ready to go to the assembly point. And that's the three of them. That's John from left to right. We've got hands in the car, Steve and Chum Nan. And they were getting ready. You can see them. That's the police at the very front of the parade. And just up the back there in that shot, you can see Steve. And they're about, second in the procession. Now, the procession took around about 2 hours to actually travel from the assembly area through the town and then down to the beach. And, they got down there eventually, headed up by a marching band, the ubiquitous marching band that has to lead every parade. And they'd been marching and playing their instruments for 2 hours by the time they got down there in the stinking afternoon heat. And then As far as we're concerned, this is the one float we really want to see, Hans's ute. And on the back, we've got that magnificent turtle with all the paraphernalia and the bits and pieces, all constructed from bits and flotsam and jetsam, picked up by Steve from the beach over the past year and assembled into that magnificent turtle. We've also got John there, Steve and Chum Nan marching behind the float, and they should be very, very proud. And you see all the turtle eggs there at the back of the float. I don't know how many. There must be maybe even thousands of cigarette lighters, each of them individually picked up by Steve and cleaned, mostly him and Chum Nan, and put together to make that magnificent turtle. And then we've also got the paragliders flying over the beach for the parade, and their presence was certainly heard. And then down on the actual beach, they'd brought the fishing boats. Why did they bring the fishing boats? A very good reason, because we were launching turtles. There were some 100 turtles released on the beach, and there's many more thousands of people along the main road, by the way, not just the people on the beach. But they turned their lights on, so when we launched the turtles, they'd go swimming out towards the lights and not return to shore. This is the launching of the first turtle by the governor of Panga. Also this guy who got to launch a turtle, and I'm not sure what my little guy was called. Now I was number 33 on the roster, and I also got to launch a turtle who very happily made his way out to sea. A bit of waves rolling in at the time. I thought, oh, he's going to get washed back on the beach. But he was strong, and he certainly was making his way out to sea when I last saw him. Hopefully one day to return. And with that, I thank you very much for watching. Hopefully you're a bit more up to date with things happening around Thailand. Sorry for the lack of programs on the weekend, but I was dead in the water and had to madly prepare to try and at least have a system whereby I could put the show together for at least the weekdays. So bear with me. We'll try and get everything back up and going as soon as we can. Thanks for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.